Russian air assault forces attacked the Ukrainian garrison in western Russia's Kursk Oblast on, or just before Saturday, rolling 8 BMD infantry fighting vehicles along the very same roads around the village of Viktorovka they've been using since November for assaults on the 250-square-mile salient the Ukrainians carved out of Kursk back in August. The result was predictable. Ukrainian forces anchored by the 22nd Mechanized Brigade and 17th Heavy Mechanized Brigade destroyed 4 of the 8 BMDs from the Russian 234th Air Assault Regiment. I really do not understand the point of attacking at the place where they attack for the third month, mused Kriegsforscher, a Ukrainian Marine Corps drone operator whose company knocked out one of the BMDs. The repeated vehicular assaults along the same roads by the same Russian regiments, almost all ending in defeat for the Russians, are equally befuddling to the Russian rank and file, in sending vehicles and their crews on pointless banzai attacks across the drone-patrolled no-man's land in Kursk. Russian commanders gain almost nothing and lose everything, according to one Russian blogger. The predictable and costly assaults help explain the staggering Russian casualties in Kursk as Russia's wider war grinds toward its 4th year. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the 60,000-person Russian-North Korean field army in Kursk has suffered as many as 35,000 casualties trying to eject the 20,000 Ukrainians the oblast. The Russian counteroffensive in Kursk that began in earnest in November has shrunk, but not eliminated, the Ukrainian-held salient. Russian President Vladimir Putin keeps pushing back the deadline for his forces to fully recapture Kursk. After several revisions amid the overall failure of Russian attacks in the oblast, last fall the Kremlin extended the deadline to February, only to later abandon that deadline too. Don't be shocked if the Russians miss whatever the new deadline is. Saturday was a typical day along the Kursk front line. Russian and North Korean troops attacked from 16 directions, according to the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies. Just one attack resulted in any Russian gains around Viktorovka. But the Ukrainian 6th Ranger Regiment still controls most of the village. Bloodied and surely traumatized, some Russian troops in Kursk once again are resorting to brutal war crimes as a way of venting their frustration and, they must hope, terrorizing their Ukrainian foes. Marines from the Russian 155th Naval Infantry Brigade, one of 2 Russian Marine brigades that have been destroyed and rebuilt several times in the 35 months since Russia widened its war on Ukraine, reportedly decapitated 4 Ukrainian prisoners and displayed the heads on pikes. If history is any guide, the Russians' crimes will fail to demoralize the Ukrainians. Indeed, they tend to have the opposite effect. When the 155th Naval Infantry Brigade stripped and executed 9 Ukrainian prisoners in October, it triggered a series of deadly raids by Ukrainian troops, deliberately targeting the Russian brigade. In those retaliatory raids, the Ukrainians took no prisoners. Fighters of Ukraine's 3rd Special Operations Forces SSO Regiment were caught on video recapturing Ukrainian positions previously seized by Russian troops. During the assault, they eliminated several Russian soldiers and took 1 prisoner, according to an SSO report on Telegram. The SSO report stated that the operation involved clearing Russian dugouts and securing the area for an infantry unit from the Ukrainian Defense Forces. A commander of the Special Operations Reconnaissance Group, identified by the call sign Bashka, said that these positions were originally held by Ukrainian forces before being captured by Russian troops. However, the SSO did not disclose the location of the fighting. He said the mission was difficult, citing the intensity of Russian assault operations in the area. During the day, the Russians sent 100 of their men to their deaths at once. Their artillery was extremely active, leaving almost no cover, he added. Footage from a chest-mounted camera, which Kiev Post could not independently verify, shows the challenging terrain. A tree line reduced to burnt stumps, offering little concealment for the SSO fighters. The Special Forces carried an additional backpack equipped with an electronic warfare device designed to jam the controls of Mavic drones. This measure prevented Russian forces from targeting them with drone-dropped explosives or kamikaze first-person view FPV drones. According to Bashka, the group was also supported by UAV crews and a fire support team. According to Bashka, the group was also supported by UAV crews and a fire support team. Bashka said that the operation was initially planned to begin at dawn, with the team advancing toward the so-called front edge under the cover of darkness. However, heavy Russian artillery fire and drone activity disrupted this plan. According to the report, the tactical group conducted additional reconnaissance using UAV operators, fire support teams, and evacuation units before moving forward. The paths to the Russian positions were heavily targeted by artillery, and all approaches to the dugouts were mined.
Ровно 54-24, да.